What's up? I'm John Ricard. Someone asked me on Instagram, what Leica lenses do I have? And I was excited because nobody ever asks me anything on Instagram. So I figured, let me just make a video instead of trying to type all this stuff out. So here it goes. These are my Leica lenses. We're going to go from my widest focal length to my longest focal length. So we're going to start with this 21mm Elmarit. I'm not sure what the year this is from, but it's a pretty old lens, and this one is really messed up. Like, this piece here moves, and I'm pretty sure that's not supposed to happen. And I can actually just like unscrew the lens if I want it. I don't want to do it, but you can just like unscrew this lens and take the whole thing apart. I sent it to Leica one time for repair, and they wanted about $900 to fix it, and I didn't think that was worth it. This lens, the rangefinder coupling is just completely off. If you focus using the rangefinder, you won't even be close. So this is the only lens that I'll ever use a zone focus method, where I'll just put it on 5/6 and then look at the scale and set it for 5 feet or 3 feet or whatever. And I use it like that, and it's fine. Sometimes I use it in live view with the M10, and it's pretty cool. I mean, the images look great, but it's really shot, and I would love to get a new 21mm. I'd probably get that 21 3.4. I think I would like that. I do like shooting wide a lot, and I wish the Leica lenses let you shoot a little bit closer. Next, we have a 28mm Elmarit. This is another old lens, and it's, you know, it's a little banged up, but it's doing fine. There are some little marks on the lens, though. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to really see that on the video, but I don't know. You know, I don't have like a filter on this lens. I try to put them on, but a lot of times I can't even remember if I have a filter on the lens. And I'll tend to put these lenses in bags without proper protection, without lens caps. It's really stupid, but I don't know. Sometimes when I'm working, it's just the way I work. So this 24, I use it a lot. It moves a little also, as you can see. I don't think it's supposed to do that. And, you know, it's an old banged up lens, but it's really sharp and it works great. The scratches on the front, obviously, they don't affect the image quality, but when I look at them, it kind of bothers me, and I wouldn't mind changing this lens as well. But for this, I would love to get the 24 1.4. I use this lens a lot. It's very sharp and it works great. It's on the M9. As a quick aside, the person who inspired me to do this video, you know, he asked me, you know, what lenses do I use? But he also was trying to decide between an M9 and an M10. M9 because it's pretty cheap these days, and the M10 isn't bad. He found it for 4K. You've heard me say this too many times if you follow any of my Leica stuff. I don't really recommend the M9, although I just rebought this. The biggest problem with the M9 is you don't get that many images before you hit the buffer. So this is all you get with the M9. Well, let's see what's going on here. Well, that's not good, right? I bought this for $2,100 fairly recently, probably about 2 months ago or something. So I don't know what that was about, but I'm going to leave it in the video. Let's just make sure we have some battery power. See, it says I don't have an SD card, which I do. The battery is on full. Let's just double check. Sorry for the bad camera work, guys. So there is a card here, as you see. Card is in there. Put the card back in. See if it finds the card this time. Still says no SD card, not good. We're going to take the battery out this time. This used to happen every now and then when I was using the M9 back in the day when it was my only Leica. Every now and then you'd get stuff like that. So I took the battery out, take the card out again, and it's definitely a temperamental camera with the cards. So let's give it a try now. We turn it on. Okay, I don't think we got an error. It flashed for 1 second saying no card, but hopefully it's going to fire, and let's see what happens in terms of the amount of shots that we can get in continuous mode. Ready, guys? Here we go. That was not in continuous, so let me make sure it's finished writing that. Okay, here we go. Ready? In continuous. Let's see how many shots we get. That's it. So that was about 5 or 6 or something like that, I guess. So I don't recommend the M9 unless you shoot just a few images. Look at that. I still can't take a picture. Of course, that could be whatever's wrong with the camera. No, it says data transfer. I don't know. So something could be up with this. I'm going to have to really check this camera out. It would be a shame if it didn't work. Next lens is this 35mm Summicron. And this is considered like a classic famous Leica lens, but man, I don't like this lens at all. I think compared to the Summilux, it's really flat in terms of the way it renders. And I shoot a lot with it. It's definitely my most used lens. And I just think it renders really flat. It's called the king of bokeh, but it's not. There is nothing interesting about the out of focus elements from the images with this lens. I've done side-by-side comparisons with the Summilux, and I can see a tremendous difference in the 3D-ness of the images and in the pop of the color. It's just, I don't like this lens at all, even though it's a nice tight little rock. I like the way it feels, and it's small and it looks cool, but I really don't like the quality of the images that I get from it. I do have a skylight on this one at least, which is good because this is always on the camera. So it's that lens, this element is always getting exposed to something. So at least I keep a skylight on that one. Next, we have the 50. This is a rather old 50. Very sharp though. It produces nice images. I like this lens. Not much to really say. Wow, look how dirty that is. I don't know what happened to that. Oh, I think I found this skylight. I think I found it in a closet and I put it on just so I wouldn't lose it again. But it looks like there's actually a fingerprint on this lens right now. Not sure why that is. Usually I'm good with no fingerprints, okay? But this is a 50mm Summilux. This is nice. I think I could actually do without the 50mm focal length if I had to. I could go from 24 to 35 to 70, and I think I would be okay. So eventually I'm going to move in that direction with the faster lenses just to do it. So I use this a decent amount of times though, okay? This lens I love. I actually bought this lens used, but I bought it in like immaculate condition. It looked amazing when I got it. I'm afraid to show you the top. You guys are going to have a fit when you see the top of this lens, but has a rubber lens focusing ring, which I think is a bad idea because the rubber can get dried out if you use it, in the hot temperatures and in the water or whatever. So, it ends up not looking good because the rubber gets dried out. So I think they should have just made that metal. It really doesn't need to be rubber. But look at the front, right? You guys are going to hate that. Can you see this completely dented area right here? You can see that, right? It's really damaged, but I dropped it at one point and the skylight filter got stuck on it and I couldn't get it off and it was all cracked. So I used a pair of pliers to like yank it off. It was the only way I could get it off. And the problem now is the ring is so damaged that I can't put like a neutral density filter on it. And more than once I've tried to use this outside on location and I wanted to be able to use a flash with it, or strobe I should say, with it. And I haven't been able to because I can't put a neutral density filter on it. And I end up having to shoot at like f11 or something and it just throws everything off. So this lens is one that I really want to replace. It's just not sure if it makes more sense to go with the new version, the 2.4 version of this, or to go with the older Summilux lens. The Summilux isn't priced too bad, but do you really need that extra half a stop, especially when the lens is so big? And this is, man, this is a great, this lens just feels good. It's a nice small size, and I don't know which one I'm going to do. The smart move would be to just get the 2.4. It's not that expensive, and just, I don't know, put this out to pasture. So those are my official Leica lenses, but I want to show you two other lenses that stay with my Leica setup, okay? This, I don't even know what this is called, but I saw an article, I think it was on Petapixel, the photo blog, and it was some guy was like, here's the video he shot with a $40 lens. So I rushed over to eBay to see if I could find that $40 lens, and sure enough, I did. So I really can't even remember what this thing is called. I'm sorry. But whatever it is, I paid about 40 bucks for it, and it really gives you the interesting out of focus elements. It's an f2 lens. I leave it at f2. I'm not even sure how you change the aperture, but when I use it, I'm just trying to use it for the out of focus elements. And it has, I think I put a filter on it. This photodiox adapts it from the Leica screw mount to the Leica M mount. So for this, you definitely need a camera with live view. You need like an M10 or an M240 in order to focus this lens. But I get some really cool looking pictures with this, and it's a specialty lens. I use it only for the out of focus element. So anytime I have this, I have other lenses with me. I have a 75 with me, or my regular 50 if I want to take like proper portraits. But This is a great deal for the price I paid for it and to get the cool looks that I get from it. I really like this lens. And then the last lens that I consider as part of my Leica collection is this older Nikon 85mm 1.4. So I have the newer version of this lens, and that stays as part of my Nikon gear that I use in autofocus mode. But this lens is the one that I use when I want to get that really shallow depth of field look. Again, when you're using it on a Leica, you have to be on an M10 or an M240. You know, it's not perfect in terms of flare. Like when I used to use this in the studio with my Nikon setup, it was like my main studio lens for my, like say, D810 for a lot of years. But it would, it would flare. I don't mean flare. I mean, you'd get, like, if the lights were shining too much into the lens, you'd get the cloudiness on the image. And it was hard to get a clean, crisp image of a person against a white background with this lens. But when I use it on the Leica, that's not how I'm using it. I'm always using it at 1.4. I don't need the focal length. I already have a 75 in the Leica format. I'm only using this to get the 1.4. And I use it with live view, and it stays with a permanent Leica adapter on it, so that I know anytime I pick up this lens, it's ready to shoot with my Leica, because in my mind, it's a Leica lens. It's just I have to make sure I'm using it in the live view mode. And again, I have a copy of it for my Nikon, the newer version, the G version, that stays with the Nikon gear. So that's it. Those are my Leica lenses. Hopefully one day I'm going to be able to make a new video showing that I actually got the 3 lenses that I really want, and I managed to toss out all the old ones, or I donated them to charity or something.